Fire. Their house was on fire. Luna was screaming, slamming her fists into the ground as angry, grief-stricken tears poured down her face. Not far off, Lewin wasn't much better. Although instead of screaming, the young girl resorted to rocking back and forth silently. Her face was a mixture of emotions, the main ones being shock and grief. She couldn't believe that this was happening. They're dead. They're all dead. A distance away from the sisters was Lynn. The young tomboy was being carried off onto a stretcher. Her facial features as well as her skin looked to be severely burned. So much so that it was a miracle that she was even alive. They're dead. They're all dead. While all this was happening, a certain white-haired boy was being forced into a police car. His expression held a never-ending smile that seemed to be frozen on his face. His soft blue eyes were wide and disturbed, but also showed the pain and misery that one shows up upon losing the ones he cared about the most. However, as he was being led away, one of the sisters seemingly snapped out of their trance. Lewin lunged at the cop. Her surprisingly sharp nails dug into his skin with ease. Let him go. It wasn't him. Do you hear me? It wasn't him. She screamed, frantic beyond disbelief. She couldn't let them take Lincoln away, she couldn't. He was innocent, but if they let him in the hands of those that didn't understand him, then he wouldn't be. Move, girl. The officer she was attacking lifted a hand before slapping her across the face. The blow was so hard that it sent Lewin crashing to the ground. Luna, who was watching with an almost dazed expression, quickly moved to her sibling's defense, only to be tossed by another officer who arrived on the scene. They look like some crazy sons of bitches, said the officer, laughing. It seemed as if he lacked any morals and or compassion regarding the scene he just stumbled upon. You can say that again, Larry, the other officer responded. Besides, this kid was a bit psycho, to begin with, considering that he almost raped the mayor's daughter. The two officers laughed before continuing their work. The paramedics had long left before their conversation even began. Though if it had, they wouldn't exactly disagree. News of what happened quickly spread around the town, leaving many of those shocked upon hearing what had happened. They couldn't believe that a child would end the lives of not only his parents but his siblings as well. It was even more shocking when they consider the fact that those who survived not only defended Lincoln but adamantly believed that he wasn't the one responsible. However, their explanation and or reasoning went entirely ignored. No one was interested in listening to them. August 18, 2009. Hello Lincoln, my name is Ronnie Annie, and I am your new therapist. How are we doing today? The silence was her reply. It has come to my attention that you tell me why. Auto and visual hallucinations and I'm sorry, do you find that funny? Have you ever watched a rabbit die? They're small, pathetic little things that waste their time breeding, shitting, and being too small and too weak to defend themselves. When I was little, I watched as my dog ripped a rabbit's head clean off. Blood was everywhere, and you wanna know the funny part? The body was still twitching even after the head was separated from the body. I and Lola couldn't help but laugh as we stared at it. Lola, your younger sister, correct? Such a girl wouldn't be laughing at that act of extreme violence. It was funny, so fucking funny, kinda like the time I broke the jaw of one of Lori's ex-boyfriends. He was a stalker. One who got off at looking at my sister's naked body through the window. Trust me, I know, I've seen the pictures. So you like to hurt people? No, no, no. You not listening. You don't get it? In this world, things get hurt, people get hurt. In this world, pain and death are as common as life and healing. That if you want to change something as small as, let's say, cutting the throat of a 2-year-old baby because they were screaming too much, then you go out and do it. Change the outcome. Stop the madness. By hurting something that can't even defend itself? Sounds like an excuse to act out your anger and frustration on something weaker than yourself. By the way, as a 2-year-old baby, you don't mean your sister Lily, do you? You have to stop the madness. Stop things from scratching at the door. People say that they aren't real and that I'm just crazy, but I'm not. I'm the most normal person here. Do you honestly believe that? Monsters, little girls, tall men in trees, they're the same. They all live in a world of madness by repeating what they already know to be a doomed fate, but they also help us. They help us live, die, and suffer. This is the tool to freedom. To a world filled with fire. If you want to be free, you have to end the madness. Change the outcome by whatever means necessary. Okay, I think that's enough for today. It's clear that I'm not gonna get any straight normal answers out of you anytime soon. The interview ends, leaving Ronnie and Annie both very frustrated and disturbed by Lincoln's reasoning. Then again, this was her first time doing something like this, so maybe she'll get used to it. She turns, watching Lincoln being dragged away by the guards. His usual never-changing smile was present on his face. She didn't think someone could smile that long. At least until she met him. We'll try things differently in our next session, Ronnie says before Lincoln is out the door. However, she had a strange feeling that things were gonna end very bad, very soon. Do you think it's time yet? Lola asked. The little, very much dead girl was skipping around her brother, humming a tune Lincoln only heard once before. Lincoln chuckles. No, little one, the fire must burn even brighter before it can warmly swallow the guilty. What about that lady? She seems nice. A soft motherly voice cooed in his ear. So young, so naive about the world and just how cruel it can be. Just as Lincoln is about to respond, Lori erupts. Come on guys, Lincoln can do better than that, like that sexy nurse who's a big fan of ours. Now she's someone more in his league. I totes agree. Lenny adds, standing beside her sister. Between peers, siblings and her mother are. Lincoln laughs. He can't help it. It's like a bubble that pokes his insides until his throat breaks under the pressure. It's a small but deranged sound. One that echoes throughout his cell and beyond it. There's my handsome boy. A small but feminine voice stated. This alone caused Lincoln to turn his head towards the door. There she was. Jordan. A young woman with curves in all the right places who also happens to be keenly interested in him. The one key that connects him to the outside world. Lincoln's smile grew. It's his fault. He killed them. Your brother just went crazy. Him. Lincoln. That's what Lynn constantly hears after waking up from her 12-month-long coma. Her face was severely burned along with the rest of her body. So much so that for her not to be in complete agony, she needs to be dosed with highly concentrated painkillers. It numbs both the pain and her mind. Yet the memories still come. The fire. Screams. The smell of burnt flesh. Familiar faces turned into nothing more than burnt corpses. Screaming. Always screaming. Something inside Lynn snapped. The young girl who is known for her love of sports died that day. In its place is a corpse who simply chooses to breathe. Nurses come, doctors go. Regardless, they all gave her looks of sympathy. Lynn hated it. Maybe that's why while a nurse was looking over her bandages she grabbed her by the neck. Maybe that's why she squeezed and squeezed until her body went still. Maybe that's why even though her body stopped moving she slammed her head against her own until blood soaked her face. Lynn Wanted them to pay. She wanted to make them all pay. It's time to see the world burn. Hey Jen. Jen smiles at her friend. Having just gotten home from a long day of work and still had enough time before continuing her little project, Jen decided to visit her friend. Emily was a nice girl. Her parents were even nicer. Hey, EMS, what ya doing today? Just about to watch the news. Cool, mind if I join? Sure. The two sat together on the couch. At first, the news showed nothing special, which made Jen very, very bored. Come on, at least find something interesting. Emily laughs. Geez, just be patient. Jen rolled her eyes. However, just as she was about to comment, a news report spoke first. Breaking news: there has been a killing spree at Maria's hospital. At least 7 dead, with several others in critical condition. After some questioning and looking over the footage, we believe that the culprit is Lynn Loud. With this in mind, be advised that she is on the loose and is to be considered highly dangerous. A picture of Lynn Loud covered by dozens of bandages appeared on the screen. Jen's eyes went wide. Lynn. She's awake. Lynn is awake, and if she is awake, then she is going to one place. And one place only. Home. Lynn is going home. Different. Everything looks different. Everything is out of order. Not the same in terms of what she remembered. Lynn hated that. Killing the couple inside was easy. Smothering their 3-year-old daughter was child's play. Slicing their dog's throat was the only thing that proved a little difficult. Only because Lynn found it hard to keep it still. Walking down the halls, Lynn smothers the floor and the wall with blood. An action she didn't even think twice about. It made her feel something more than wasn't just her aching body. Going into what was her and her sister's room, Lynn stood looking around the room. Memories she gained from within spurred from inside her skull. Arguments with her sister. The laughs they shared. The tears. Something from within stirred up in Lynn. Anger. Rage. The need to kill. Just as this is happening, she suddenly hears footsteps behind her. Lynn turns, lunging. Wanting to tear whatever it was apart with her bare hands. Hands wrap themselves around someone's throat. Lynn. She stops. That voice. It sounded familiar. Lynn looks at the person. At first, no connection is made. At least until the two made eye contact. Almost immediately she knew who this was. Luna. The person was Luna, her sister. Upon realizing this, she immediately let go, causing said sister to cough. Gathering some much-needed breath, Lynn herself was still taken aback. She didn't expect to meet any of her sisters. Well, at least not so soon. Regardless, the surprise as it was far from unwelcomed. Geez sis, you can choke out a bear with your hands alone, she joked. However, she was immediately pulled into a near bone-crushing hug. Lynn tried to speak to her sister but found out that she couldn't. Her voice just wouldn't form in the way that she wanted it to. Thankfully, she didn't need to say much of anything. Yeah, it's good to see you too, Lynn. For a while, the two simply stood there, basking in each other's embrace. Both of them not wanting to lose the other. Eventually, Luna began to speak. A lot has happened since that fire, Lynn. Lincoln got arrested and is now stuck in an insane asylum with all the crazies. Lewin and I had to lay low after the whole thing. We managed to get disguises and build new lives. We never gave up on our thirst for vengeance though. Especially when we know the truth about what caused that fire. So we hid and we planned. It took some time, of course, but we finally decided to blow this town to hell. With the help of subway tunnels, we can blow up major parts that hold this town together. It won't destroy it, but it'll leave the people in the city suffering just like us. Lynn had to take some to process all this. However, With that said, she was far more than merely interested in the plan, and Luna knew it. Trust me, sis, all we need to do now is wait for Lewin to break Lincoln out of the loony bin and enjoy the fireworks. Lynn nods, understanding what they need to do together as a family. Louds that stay together, they're burned together. Do you love your son? Ronnie Annie was taken aback by the question. What? Little Jimmy, that's his name, isn't it? Goes to middle school and loves to play music. His favorite color is purple and he loves chocolate pudding. He has 6 toy cars, but his favorite is the blue one, and when he is scared he'll claps his hands 3 times. It's a little nervous tic that he gained from his father before he decided to go to war and get himself blown up. Ronnie Annie was terrified at this point. So much so that she couldn't get a solid sentence to leave her lips. Lincoln just smiles. I know you, I know everything about you, your dreams, nightmares, favorite places to go, the name of your grandparents, and so much more. Why, when I get out of here I'll be sure to pay them a little visit. Hee hee ha ha ha. The sound of screams of rage can be heard. There was a loud bang. Sounds of struggling before another loud bang echoed. Then silence. At least until Lincoln began to tear open her flesh. It was easy. It was so easy. Lewin hums to herself as she goes through the security system of the asylum. Figure out and seducing the warden of the place was almost beyond easy. Now the trick was gaining his trust by letting him fall in love with her. That took a great deal of time. Especially since the man had adamant trust issues due to past affairs. However, Lewin was nothing if not persistent. After a few dates, hardcore sex, and made-up secrets to tell, she finally arrived at her goal. Now all she had to do was let everyone out, then the real fun began. Luna smiled. It did little to reach her eyes. The fire that scarred her and her remaining family took away something from within. Something that made her unable to feel. Unable to love. Unable to mourn. Despite all this, she still had her memories of the past, and that alone made her decide to stick it through until the end with those she deemed worthy. And here we go. Lewin pressed the button. The cells opened. And then not a few seconds later the screams started. Lewin's smile grew. Oh, she loved it when a plan came together. Lincoln was free. He was free. Which means he can kill, and that's exactly what he did. Bashing a guard's head open with a wrench, Lincoln chuckles before grabbing a nearby decapitated skull. Humming a soft tune, he treats it like a football as he merely walks down the hall. Chaos, carnage, of any kind happening around him. Behind him, following close by like a lost little puppy, was Jordan. The woman decided long ago that she was along for the ride. She even went as far as getting her first kill to prove her loyalty. Where to now, handsome? She asked him in an almost sing-song voice. Stopping over a man who was busy rapping another on the floor. I see the fire that surrounds us, we are close, so very close. Jordan merely nods, swaying side to side, nearly in a trance from hearing his voice alone. He was amazing. He was wonderful. He was a god among them. Her god. Suddenly a door nearby opens. A second later, Lewin, who removed her disguise earlier to avoid confusion of the bloody kind, pokes her head through. Oh, Lincoln, what's big dumb and is about to get a desperate makeover? For the first time in a long time, Lincoln's smile turns into that full-fledged grin. Oh, I think I have an idea. Fast forward some time later and all 5 of the Louds minus Jordan over the hill looking at the town. This is it, Luna mutters. Feeling a little guilty because her friend was about to die. Lynn, on the other hand, merely clenched her fists in excitement. Do you want to do the honors? Lewin asks, handing Lincoln the detonator. You show them, baby, Jordan says, licking her lips as she watched. For a moment Lincoln merely stands there, taking the fact That retribution was tightly gripped in his hands. His revenge. His reckoning. His rebirth. Push it, honey. Show them what you're made of, Lincoln. You got this, Linky. What she said. Real original Lana. Lincoln closes his eyes. I hope you're watching this, Mayor, because sooner or later we are coming for you next. He presses the button.